Noswaith Thar, and a very warm welcome to the first Welsh derby between Wrexham and Cardiff City for 21 years. A place in the League Cup quarter-finals is the prize tonight. Wrexham and Cardiff squaring up at a sold-out Stoke Kairas. Bragging rights and a chance to reach the last 8, both on the table. Can Phil Parkinson's side overcome the South Walians and make their way into the latter stages of the competition, a place they have not graced for 47 years. We're in the 1864 suite this evening here at the Stoke Kairas, and Mia Roberts and Mark Howard have found their way to be alongside me. Lovely to see you both as ever on Match Day Live. Mia, let's start with you. You were at Middlesbrough on Saturday. A really encouraging performance, and I guess that sets the bar perhaps a little higher for tonight.
Oh, definitely. I think, coming off the back of Wednesday, I think, suddenly in this stadium around the town, I think people were suddenly a bit lifted again after what was a disappointing result away to Stoke. And then, on Saturday, I think people were coming away feeling disappointed not to get the 3 points, especially after that Kiefer Moore chance late on as well. And I just thought the boys left everything out there. I think it was a really, strong performance that they'll look back on and be really proud of. And probably, you look at how well Middlesbrough have done this so far this season. It's great to be able to go to the Riverside and come away with something.
Mark, first of all, congratulations on your win at Gillingham on Saturday for Salford City, back up in the promotion places. You joined us in the previous round when Reading were beaten 2-0 here in the Carabao Cup. League One opposition again tonight for Wrexham, but are you anticipating that Cardiff are going to be a level up from the Royals?
Oh, definitely. I think the strength in depth that Cardiff do hold as well is obviously favourable to Cardiff. They've made 5 changes tonight, and I think it hasn't weakened their team at all. Obviously with Wrexham making a few changes as well. I think it proves to be an exciting game tonight. Cardiff always start the game quite strongly, and Phil will have the players geared up tonight for that. He'll be fully prepared to make sure that Wrexham start at the races and they come out battling almost quite tight, give nothing away, turn the ball into the corners and just get up the pitch.
Well, let's have a look without further ado on the 11 who Phil Parkinson has named this evening, because there are just 4 survivors from the team who earned that point up at the Riverside on Saturday. In previous rounds, Phil has changed all 11 twice and 10 on one occasion. But on this occasion, Max Cleworth retains his place, as do George Thomason, George Dobson and Ryan Longman. Let's have a look at that Wrexham team in full now, because interestingly, it looks like George Thomason will play left centre-back, Connor Cody in the middle, Max Cleworth at right centre-back rather, and then right wing-back will be Ryan Barnett, left wing-back will be Ryan Longman, George Dobson will anchor in central midfield, Ollie Rathbone makes a welcome return alongside Lewis O'Brien just in front, and then it will be the front 2 of Nathan Broadhead and Sam Smith. Mia, your reflections on that side?
Yeah, I think where to start, really. I think it's a really sort of exciting side. We speak about how many times, not just this season, last season, of the cup competitions, and you always expect rotation, especially when you go in for it, as we always are in the sort of league. But I think tonight, one of the ones I'd pick out straight away is probably Ollie Rathbone. I'm so excited to see him back in a Wrexham shirt. I think especially he was obviously back in the squad at Stoke, and then had that little niggle again, which was a bit frustrating, I'm sure, for him as well. So really excited to see him, especially alongside someone like Lewis O'Brien, who I think that partnership could be something really exciting in the middle of the park, which is probably quite different to anything we've really had under Phil Parkinson in terms of that midfield department over the last few years.
We'll get Mark's thoughts in just a few moments, but we've already had the chance to catch up with manager Phil Parkinson this evening. He's been speaking to Matt Waters.
Phil, good evening. All set for tonight's game in the Carabao Cup against Cardiff City. How is the mood amongst the staff and the players?
Yeah, good. It's a game we've been looking forward to since it came out the hat, and obviously we've had some league games to navigate before then, but now let's enjoy a night of cup football.
You mentioned about enjoying it, a couple of changes to the starting lineup to freshen things up. What was the thinking behind those?
I think it's just sensible from our point of view. We've gone Wednesday, waiting Middlesbrough Saturday, we've got a game Friday, and we've got to utilise the squad. That's what we've built a strong squad for, and it's putting some freshness out on the pitch with a strong bench if it's needed.
One of those changes, Ollie Rathbone back in the starting lineup for the first time this season. That must be really pleasing for you. Yeah,
so pleased for Ollie. Got injured in Australia, and it's been tough for him because he's so eager to play, but he's had to be patient. I feel he's ready now, and it's a great opportunity for him tonight.
And just finally, what would it mean to you and the players to secure victory tonight in a Welsh rivalry, but also to progress to the quarter-finals?
Well, this will be only the third time in the club's history that we'd be in the quarter-finals, and that is a great incentive for us. And plus, obviously, like you say, Welsh derby, a lot at stake tonight. We've got to concentrate on what we've got to do. We've had a good look at Cardiff over the last few days. Obviously, they're doing well in their respective league. We're delighted as a football club that we're in that level above them. However, that means nothing tonight. It's all about the 90 minutes on the pitch.
Wishing the best luck. Thank you, Phil.
Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson giving his thoughts to Matt Waters ahead of tonight's game. Mark, we touched on Ollie Rathbone just before we heard from Phil. I'm keen to get your thoughts on George Thomason this evening, because he's only just come into the side, a couple of really strong performances in central midfield, but he's going to be deployed tonight, we think, as the left of three centre-backs. How do you think he'll fit into that role?
Yeah, I think we've seen him use a lot of energy in the last two games, so it'll be interesting to see how he sits and plays a disciplined role at the back. But it's a job that he's done before. I'm sure that he'll be up for relishing the opportunity. Last time we spoke to him, he just wanted to take everything. He was learning as he goes, and that was really impressive. That he's almost adapting to the way that Phil likes to play and the team likes to play. So it'll be interesting to see how he controls himself almost, but then manages to offer support to Ryan Longman. I think that would be an interesting combination. And then, like you said, further up the pitch, I think Phil's gone with a lot of energy tonight. I think he's really going to take the game to Cardiff, which will be an exciting game.
And when we look at the changes that he's made, Mark, tonight, obviously Lewis Brunt out injured. He got injured at Middlesbrough on Saturday. We're not sure yet for how long. Another game coming on Friday, so even one less day of physical preparation possible before the Coventry match, who are top of the table. How difficult would this have been for Phil to try and get the balance right tonight? He'll clearly want to win the tie. It's a great opportunity to reach the last eight, but he must surely have an eye on Coventry and a little bit of sensitivity around the squad being slightly depleted at the moment.
Yeah, I think obviously he mentioned then that he's going to utilise the squad. It's a great opportunity for other players to get some minutes under their belt. I think that obviously the defensive lineup with Doyle suspended, Brunt injured, I think he's going to probably protect Max Cleworth a little bit, although he's starting tonight with the armband. I think that you probably see him come off early and maybe someone else deployed in defence instead. Probably Thomason moving over to the right side and Cacaccio coming on at left centre half. He'll utilise what he has got in the dressing room and the strength and depth that he does have. He obviously has some experienced players like James McLean and Matty James on the bench. You might see them come on the pitch, hopefully if Wrexham are leading the game, to defend that lead and see it out. And obviously Dan Scars came into the team at the weekend because of Lewis's injury, and I think he'll almost be looking to protect him a little bit. He didn't want to expose him as much tonight as he maybe would have expected. He probably would have expected to start him had Lewis not got that injury.
And Mia, 5 changes from Cardiff manager Brian Barry Murphy from their 1-0 defeat against Bolton on Saturday. What kind of formation are you expecting to see, and who do you think one or two of the danger men might be for the Bluebirds?
Yeah, I think they'll probably stick with what they've done most of the season in that sort of 4-2-3-1, really. Listen, I think they've got a lot of talent. I don't think it's like Phil Parkinson touched on in his presser then and all through the last few days. Just because they're that league below us now doesn't mean this is one of those cup games where you're already sort of putting yourself in the next round, because that's absolutely not the case. But listen, I think they've got a lot of talent on that pitch. I'm, obviously quite happy not to see someone like Callum Robinson in the squad for them tonight, but someone like Selleck, who will be playing that number 9, is equally, just as dangerous. I think, he scored 5 goals already this season, and I mean, they've got a lot of quality going forward. Obviously, the Colwell brothers are another key partnership tonight. They're both
two Welsh
playing
internationals.
Together. Absolutely. I mean, they've obviously got a number of Welsh internationals in there, particularly young ones as well. And listen, they've got a really exciting squad. I think they'll probably this season for them, they just want to get back out of League One, don't they? But it's a really good opportunity for them as well to get some of those younger players on the pitch and give them some really valuable experience.
And we'll get a further perspective as we build up to kick-off here today on the current situation at Cardiff from Rob Phillips and Nathan Blake from the Blakeys and Rob's Commentary Box podcast. That's coming up later in our preview show tonight. But Mia mentioned some of the danger men in the Cardiff team tonight. Let's have a look at the head-to-head this evening, because we've picked out 2 players who love to get forward from right wing back. Isa Kabore is on the bench tonight for Wrexham, but may well play a part in the second half of the game if Ryan Barnett needs a bit of a breather after perhaps an hour or so. We've seen that from Phil Parkinson quite a lot this season. And for Cardiff City tonight, Ronan Capaccio has really impressed this season, getting his first caps for the Welsh national team and proving a constant threat down the right-hand side. You can see already 3 assists from him, and both of these players around about the 1 to 1.5 chances created per game. Kabore, Mark, not starting tonight, but this role of players coming off the bench, not in the 80th minute, but very much nearer the hour mark, seems to have become something that Phil Parkinson has lent on ever more this season.
Yeah, I think it's something that Wrexham have been used to in the past as well, having a team of players that can finish the game. I think it's been ever so important in previous years gone by, and this year's no different, that Phil likes to utilise the subs that he does have on the bench and the strength and depth that he does have on that bench. So it would be no surprise tonight to see 4 or 5 players coming on and making those changes, freshen up the team, also inject a bit more energy, and obviously depending on the score, tactically change the game.
Ronan Capaccio for Cardiff, Mia, one of a number of players who Cardiff are blooding now in this first team at League One level who've come through the Cardiff Academy.
Yeah, he's a really exciting talent. I think, there's a reason why he's been in that Wales squad the last few times. And, I'd sort of look at it in terms of look at someone like Perry Ng, who for the last few years has been the absolute mainstay in terms of that position in that Cardiff team. I mean, only probably the season before last was he one of the, if not one of the best in that position in the Championship. And then suddenly this young lad burst onto the scene over pre-season in the summer and absolutely just takes his spot quite easily and quite quickly. I think Ng has come back into it a little bit more now, but yeah, he's someone with a really bright future, and I think he's really comfortable on the ball as well. I think people might look at him early and just say, oh, well, he's got that bit of pace, so maybe he's a bit of a sort of winger who's been forced back into that right back role, but he's also very good on the ball and a bit of a technician at times as well. So he's someone I hope to do great things for Wales, not necessarily for Cardiff tonight.
Capaccio ever up and running for Wales, already had his first cap for the national team. Certainly a player to watch, as Mia mentions. Well, in the previous round, Wrexham were up against League One opponents, as they are tonight. The club who Phil Parkinson spent the majority of his playing career with. Reading came to town in the third round. Let's have a reminder of how Wrexham progressed to tonight's fourth round tie. With the 91st anniversary of the Gresford colliery disaster occurring yesterday, a minute's silence was immaculately observed inside the Stoke Kairas before the kick-off in this Carabao Cup tie. Reading, though, were the quickest out of the blocks, and Callum Burton, on his first appearance of the season, had to be aware of the threat from the Royals. Kelvin Ehib Ashiaman coming close here, Burton with a smart save. Wrexham started to get a bit of a foothold. Sam Smith going close with a kung fu style kick that we know from last season's promotion sealing win over Charlton Athletic, and Smith's header also forced Stevens to save. But Wrexham got their breakthrough in the second half. Elliot Lee's shot bouncing back to Broadhead, the Welsh international striker, making no mistake with his first goal for the club. It was quickly followed by his second. Ryan Barnett doing what he does best, whipping in a cross at pace. Broadhead's header coming off the underside of the bar and just about over the line. Sam Smith making absolutely sure. Wrexham almost made it 3 in injury time. Ryan Hardy going round keeper Stevens, but not managing to add another. It didn't matter. Wrexham were comfortable victors by 2-0 and into the last 16 of the League Cup for the first time since 1977. Wrexham prevailing then by 2-0 against Reading in the previous round of the Carabao Cup to present the opportunity tonight in the last 16 against Cardiff City. This match an 8 o'clock kickoff UK time, and don't forget we go straight to penalties if it's a draw after 90 minutes. Mark, that night Callum Burton made his first appearance between the sticks for Wrexham of the season. Had an excellent game, particularly making some good saves in the first half. But we've not seen him in action, apart from in training, of course, since then. How difficult will it be for a goalkeeper to spend so little time in a match situation between a match played over a month ago and tonight?
Well, I think you've seen from Callum that was his first game in over 12 months since his injury, that he came in and equipped himself so well. Everything he needed to do, he dealt with correctly and was very tidy on the night. His kicking was really good. So I think that would have given him a lot of confidence, that being able to miss that period of games and then to come in, obviously now, get another opportunity in a cup game. He'll be looking to relish this opportunity and also keep a clean sheet tonight, keep a quiet goal. That's what most goalkeepers like to do when they come into a team after a break in play, and is just try and keep a quiet goal. You want to go home at the end of that night and no one talk about you. That's a sign of a good goalkeeper, and I think Callum's got that in his locker in abundance, and I think he'll just be looking tonight as to do the basics to the best of his ability and just, like I said, keep a quiet goal and see what happens.
In that game against Reading, Mia, we thought it was Nathan Broadhead who'd netted the second. After some discussions and analysis, Sam Smith was credited with the goal. He starts tonight. He's had limited minutes this season, hasn't he? He came on in the home game against Oxford a couple of weeks back and suddenly was creating chances for himself, coming close despite only having a handful of minutes. How difficult will it be for him to make that adjustment from throwing himself Steve Fletcher style into a late subs cameo to leading the line from the first minute?
Yeah, I think it is difficult, especially when you look at the sort of circumstance, in the sense that he came in January. You could argue he's one of the big reasons why we find ourselves here in the Championship right now. But, you know, when you bring in someone like Kiefer Moore in over the summer, I think, you know, obviously the sort of change in from, you know, two typical strikers that we've seen so often over the last few years under Phil Parkinson sort of changed to having that more of a number 10 player, whether it's Windass or Nathan Broadhead. And, you know, he's just got to adapt to that, and he's just got to wait for his chance. I think I look back to the game on Wednesday versus Oxford here. I think he came on in the 88th minute, had something like 3 shots on target, and you know that's a striker who's, as soon as he gets on that pitch, he's raring to go. He didn't quite get any chances at Middlesbrough, on Saturday, but again, I thought he did really well. One of the big things I'd pick out from that performance, again, I think he was only on for about 6 or 7 minutes, but he made a really good defensive header inside the box off a set piece, and I think that's maybe something that, you know, when Phil Parkinson's sort of deciding, does he go Kiefer Moore, does he bring Sam Smith on earlier? Maybe that's part of Kiefer Moore's game that he does have on Sam Smith in terms of that defensive quality as a striker. But listen, I think Sam Smith at the moment's doing pretty much everything right, and tonight's a massive opportunity for him to get another few goals to his tally.
Well, Phil Parkinson this evening comes up against Barry Murphy in the dugout. Cardiff changing their manager towards the end of last season. Omar Riza losing his position when destiny seemed to be taking Cardiff into League One, which ultimately was what happened. Barry Murphy came in the summer and is doing extremely well. Cardiff top of League One going into this game this evening. So let's have a little look at how the two managers compare. Phil Parkinson, of course, with a huge amount more experience. Barry Murphy still early in his managerial career, spent some time at Rochdale and was then at Manchester City looking after their elite development squad. We know, of course, Phil's journey up to this stage, and of course Phil Parkinson having once led a team out at Wembley in this competition when he heroically took Bradford City right through to the final to face Swansea and a League Two club. Barry Murphy's had a really good start, Mark, hasn't he, at Cardiff, and seems to have changed quite a lot both on the pitch and off it.
Yeah, definitely. I think he had to bide his time also at Man City. I know that his name was getting mentioned for a lot of jobs and he was waiting for the right opportunity. I think obviously the Cardiff job is the right opportunity and the right timing for him. And yeah, he's done a fantastic job so far. The way that they're playing, the style of football, playing out from the back, it's obviously the Man City model, but it's an exciting time, I would say, to be a Cardiff fan.
We're starting to see this quite a bit now, Mia, aren't we? Young managers who go and do time with development squads at Premier League level, then getting their opportunity a little bit further down the structure.
Yeah, I think so, and I don't see any harm in it, really. I think the only difference is maybe, do you sort of say that experience isn't as valuable as maybe just going a little bit lower in the sort of EFL pyramid. I think that's, again, we sort of touched on that a little bit.
Which is the traditional model, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah, and I think that's maybe something you look at if suddenly he finds himself this season with Cardiff in a bit of a title race. Is that somewhere where versus someone like Dave Challoner at Stockport, where you go, well, you know, the experience, yeah. Exactly, that maybe is what separates the two, but you know, we'll just have to wait and see. And listen, I totally agree with what Mark said. I think he's done a fantastic job so far, and not only in terms of on the pitch but off the pitch too. I think the sort of mood around that club has massively improved, which is a good thing, because you want to see, you know, obviously the Welsh clubs do well. Obviously want to see Wrexham the top of the bunch, but I think, you know, Cardiff, you can't deny it. They are a massive club.
So Cardiff seem to be working their way back to the level that they believe they should be at, challenging at the top end of League One. And I had the chance before today to catch up with Rob Phillips and Nathan Blake from Rob and Blakey's Commentary Box podcast to get some insights from two guys who watch a lot of Cardiff week to week. And I started by asking Rob, what's the current mood like amongst Cardiff fans right now?
Well, generally this season they've been happier than they have been for quite a few seasons. You know, they circled the plug hole in the Championship for a few years before they actually went down last season. But Brian Barry Murphy has come in. He's changed the style. He's given the club a bit of a philosophy on the way they play, which they lacked big time beforehand. And they're top of League One, despite a defeat at Bolton on Saturday. So I think they're really content, and the added bonus has been sort of beating Burnley in the last round of the Carabao Cup. But there's a real identity with not just the way they play, but the fans have bought into that as well. And I think they'll look on the Bolton defeat as a hiccup, which might have been avoided, but also really looking forward to playing Wrexham after all these years.
Mm. Yeah, I would slightly, as always, I slightly disagree with Rob that they're happy being in League One. I think they're accepting of it because one, it was almost a chance to reset. A lot of fans were talking about that pre them going down. But I think it's winning that's keeping them happy, right? So, I always say the style of football, the brand of football you play is important because if you just play that long ball, long ball, long ball, when you stop winning, if you stop winning, performance becomes a problem then because you're not being entertained as a fan and you're paying your money to be entertained. So I look at it slightly different, and a lot of my friends who I speak to and some of the old heads, Cardiff City fans who I know really well, they're, if you dig into them, then they're not happy at all being in this league. But we're winning, we're top of the league, chance to reset, football's better, as Rob said. Take all those points. Brian Barry Murphy has brought a philosophy to the club that wasn't there. So they're happy in that sense. But yeah, don't get it twisted. They see themselves as a giant club, and League One just isn't where they're supposed to be as far as they're concerned.
And just on that point then, the whole psychology of Wrexham being the more senior side at the moment playing Championship football and Cardiff playing League One football, Rob, how much does that really grate on the Bluebirds fans?
Well, I think the rise of Wrexham has gone through various stages among other fans of all clubs, not just Cardiff City, when it became a Hollywood club, when Rob and Ryan came in, there was a sort of inquisitiveness and, that's a bit different. They went through the National League and then into League Two. I think Welsh fans generally were really happy. And then they got into League One immediately, and the rise carried on. And the last thing any Cardiff fan wanted was to drop down into League One while Wrexham bypassed them going the other way. So, there is that. I know there are plenty of fans going up there, and they think they will have a good time because they see many of the Wrexham fans on Wales trips. Cardiff and Wrexham supply a big amount of travelling Wales fans. So there's that. But make no mistake, they would love to be where Wrexham are now.
I'll be honest with you, Chris, I don't think the rivalry is what it was 20, 30 years ago, maybe, or in the 90s when I was playing. I think Rob makes a great point in the sense that a lot of the Welsh fans we meet, or before Rob retired, got his walking stick out. Before he retired, we'd meet a lot of North Walian, Wrexham fans, one or two Cardiff fans from the north, and yeah, they were always sort of complimentary, if you like. There wasn't that sort of viciousness that used to preside over the sort of the Welsh clubs in the 80s. I think it's still there to a degree with Cardiff and Swansea. I don't think that's as bad either. Just generally in society, it's not as crazy, right? The hooliganism has died off. But no, there's rivalry. There's big rivalry to be the best in Wales. It's as simple as that, the biggest club in Wales. And I don't mean biggest club on fan base and what have you and potential and what have you. I mean just right here, right now, today, right? Who's the biggest club? Who's the most successful club right now? Well, it's Wrexham or Swansea because they're sat in the Championship. Cardiff are sat below them, and I also think I don't think there's a jealousy of the ownership because Cardiff have a billionaire owner. It's the jealousy of doing the things right,
Yeah, I
right?
agree with that. I think Nathan's spot on that the the ownership of Wrexham have hardly put a foot wrong. In fact, I'm struggling to think of a foot they put wrong since they took over. It's
Mm,
almost been the perfect example of owners coming in and transforming a club. And you're not just talking about a football club now, you're talking about a global brand.
mm.
And that is recognized by everybody. So there are a lot of lessons to be learned from the first day when they put money into the sort of community section of the club. It's been a really impressive operation, and that's what the Cardiff fans will look at and think, as Nathan said, we've got a billionaire owner. Look at the mistakes that our ownership have made.
On the field this season, Cardiff, though, resurgent, as we've discussed, gents, up to the top position in League One. Brian Barry Murphy's made a big difference since coming in this summer. Omar Reza obviously departed just before relegation was confirmed last season. What should we expect to see from Cardiff tonight in terms of playing style and also in terms of perhaps some of their danger men?
I would say, playing style, you will see a side who will try to dominate possession. I think Wrexham will be stronger than them physically, but they played these sort of sides before and have managed to find a way. They are certainly a possession-based side. Their stand-up performance, I think, is topped by Ruben Colwell, who's back in the Wales national squad now, not before time as far as I'm concerned. And they've got some bright young talents led by the two Colwell brothers, actually. Joel Colwell has done really well, and they will look to impose their game on the Wrexham game itself. It's a bit more of a complicated game than Wrexham play, I would say. So it'll be really fascinating to see how the two sides come out.
Yeah, I think basically I don't think there's that much gap between the two squads, if I'm totally honest. And I would say raw talent. Yeah, Cardiff are equal to, I would say, Wrexham. If you went player by player, goalkeepers, um, young Dylan Lawler, Fish, centre midfield, Robertson, Turnbull. They're all championship players, Chris, right? So it's almost like, this is what I say to Rob, they've got a championship team playing in League One effectively. All they needed was someone who could organise them. I would say the two squads are really evenly matched for me, so it's going to be interesting. But yeah, it's a flip of a coin for me.
Nathan Blake and Rob Phillips giving us a Cardiff lens before tonight's Carabao Cup last 16 match here at the Stoke Kai Ras. Mark, you represented all three of the major Welsh clubs. Wrexham, of course, we remember you fondly, but time at Cardiff and an emergency loan at Swansea as well. On loan from Cardiff, which must have been a first and maybe not got you that much fan mail from the Cardiff faithful. But how would you compare the three clubs in terms of culture, fan base, vibe?
Yeah, first goes to say that they all love football. I think obviously the Welsh football following is huge, and what an amazing spectacle it would be if Cardiff did get promoted this year and ended up in the Championship with the other two. In terms of fan base, they're all so passionate in their own way. Obviously, I spent a year at Cardiff, and yeah, the old Ninian Park, wow, what a stadium that was. An intimidating place, and it swallowed me up at times as a youngster, but yeah, an amazing experience nonetheless. And then, yeah, I was lucky enough to have a short loan spell over at Swansea, and yeah, it wasn't the best received loan move I've ever had, but again, an exciting place for me to learn my trade. And then you come to Wrexham and you think, as the club's grown and everything's progressed, you just think that the potential for this club is endless. And I think obviously what the club has and it is achieving will just be amazing.
Nathan mentioning there, Mia, that he felt the the level of, if you like, partisanness, if that's such a word, between the Cardiff fans and the Wrexham fans had perhaps eased a little in recent years. And Rob mentioned that Cardiff and Wrexham fans often find themselves together on Wales trips. What have you been seeing on social media this week in terms of the build-up to this game? How much edge do you think there's going to be in the stands tonight?
Listen, I think there's a definite split in terms of, a set of fans who sort of still feel like this is the Welsh derby it always was, going back obviously over 20 years ago. But I think there's also another set who are already looking at that game on Friday going, that's probably the more important. We need to focus on the league. I'm in the sort of gang, if you like, that this one's the bigger one. This one's one of the biggest so far this season. I really think it is. I think I think that maybe the sense of that sort of rivalry's maybe died down because we haven't played them for so long, and not just that, but because we've been so far away from them as well in terms of how many years we were in the National League for and how well they've done in terms of getting to the Premier League and so on. But for me, it's a huge game, and I'm so excited for it. I think the atmosphere is very quiet in here. I feel like it's going to hit us properly, obviously, when we go back outside. But no, I think hopefully both sides are really rallied up and ready to go.
Let's have a reminder then of how both Welsh clubs reached the last 16 in the Carabao Cup, where they will do battle this evening. Wrexham's run, of course, was almost over before it began. 3-1 down at home to Hull City going into injury time before Ollie Palmer, in his last act for the club, came off the bench with two trademark bullet headers from Ryan Barnett deliveries to take the match to penalties, and an immaculate set of 5, finished off by the now departed Jack Marriott, saw Wrexham through. Then it was a trip up to Deepdale to face Preston. Wrexham trailing twice in that match before getting back on level terms, and then Kiefer Moore pouncing on a late goalkeeping error to poke the ball home to progress into round 3 when Reading were beaten here at the Stoke Kairas. For Cardiff, 2 victories against League 2 opposition, beating Swindon and Cheltenham at home, and then an excellent win up at Turf Moor against Scott Parker's Premier Leaguers Burnley, who did rotate a bit on the night but still put out a very strong side. And Mark, those kind of victories, a real statement for Brian Barry Murphy's team about being taken very seriously this season. You had the same kind of experiences in cup ties for Wrexham. I'm thinking about Coventry and Sheffield United. How much can that help a club and a team to have belief that this can be a really good year for them when you go and pick up victories like that against teams 2 divisions above?
Yeah, of course. It's all about momentum, especially the cups now. Is you get to rotate the squad, you get to utilise the other players that are not playing, and then if you can pick up a result like that on the way, it really does galvanise the squad and shows a real togetherness within that squad. It's a sense of encouragement as well of where you want to get to, and as a player personally, you want to pit yourself against the best. And when you get to play against Premier League opposition, you want to give it everything you've got to get through. And obviously, they've had a great result there. And they've shown real professionalism as well, getting past the 2 League 2 clubs. So I think that things are very positive, and there's a real air of positivity around the Cardiff team.
Wrexham will see this clearly tonight, Mia, as a great opportunity, particularly at home, but Cardiff will as well, because there are plenty of big Premier League clubs who they've avoided, and they will look at this draw and think, well, we're top of League 1, Wrexham are 16th in the Championship, that's not a huge gulf, this is a winnable tie for us too.
Oh, 100%. I think, both teams were probably, well, certainly Wrexham were on the side. I remember Phil Parkinson speaking to us after Reading, sort of hoping for that Premier League draw, which we're just yet to have. But when, obviously Cardiff came out the hat, I think equally everyone was sort of going, well, Welsh derby, brilliant. It's also winnable. I think Cardiff are probably more of the underdog tonight, like Blakey and Rob Phillips touched on as well. But I think, it tees itself up for a really, really good game. I think I sort of agree with what Blakey said in terms of how the squads, if you sort of put them next to each other, listen, of course I'm going to say I do think we're that little bit stronger, but that Cardiff team is still full of real Championship quality too.
And also, Mark, tonight, with that Wrexham defence seeing those changes, with Cody returning, having not featured for 6 weeks, George Thomason playing left centre-back tonight, we think Cardiff will be looking at that in the dressing room and thinking, well, this is not the regular Wrexham back 3, and in one particular case, this isn't a player whose favoured position is playing in defence.
Yeah, but then you've got Connor Cody in there as a real leader. I think he'll talk Thomason through the game, and I think that will be a key attribute that Connor really does offer to that team, is the one player really that doesn't have much experience is sat next to the player with the most experience in the pitch. So I think that having them as a combination should bode well for Wrexham.
We will see as the game gets underway in around about 10 minutes' time. Wrexham against Cardiff City for a place in the last 8 of the Carabao Cup. No Kiefer Moore in the starting lineup for Wrexham tonight, but a very able deputy steps forward. Sam Smith was a key man in Wrexham getting over the line in League One last season. And we've had the chance to catch up with him to get his thoughts ahead of tonight's tie in this week's press conference.
Sam, good to see you. Quite a tasty fixture to look forward to this League Cup fourth round, isn't it? Can you sense an atmosphere around the club?
Oh, 100%. Everyone's excited. I think the fans will be excited, and it's an amazing opportunity to get in the quarter final against a derby. So everyone's looking forward to it.
And it means so much to the fans, doesn't it? These sort of bragging rights. I know you're in a division above them for the first time in over 40 years. That in itself is great for the fans, but you feel you've got to do that extra bit for them?
Yeah, like I said, you can sense it around the club, and this is a great opportunity to get into the quarter-final. So they're a very good team, got some good players, and it'll be a difficult game, but one we could hopefully come on top of.
What about yourself? You played in the three previous rounds. I know you've not started a league game this season, but this is your competition at the moment, isn't it? Scoring in the last round against your old club as well.
Yeah, just got to take every opportunity and looking forward to another game. And like we said, it's a great occasion and an opportunity. So, yeah, hopefully we can get the win.
I'm sure he hasn't named the side yet, but have you had a hint or a nod from the boss?
No, we don't know yet. We'll find out tomorrow. But yeah, we'll see and we'll go from there.
How important is it in the context of the season? Because I know the league means everything, and the fact you've got such a big league game coming up on Friday as well against Coventry, does that hinder it a little bit?
No, I think we just take it game by game, and all we can do is control the next game and prepare for that. So we try and win that, get us to the next round, and then we concentrate on Friday.
And confidence good coming into it after the results on Saturday at Middlesbrough, and a good performance as well.
Yeah, very good performance. I think as a team, we're growing in the league. We're showing that we can come against anyone and put performance in, and I think we've been unfortunate in a few games not to have a better result and be higher up the table, but we're learning and we're growing, and we've got a great team, and obviously the games coming up, we're looking to carry on climbing up the league.
Have you had a look at Cardiff at all? Or?
Yeah, we had a look at them this morning. Like I said, we've got some good players. They're doing really well in the league, but we've looked at how we can hurt them as well. So it should be an exciting game and one we're all looking forward to.
And a hostile atmosphere.
Yeah, that's what you want to play. That's the game I enjoy, and yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, good luck.
Cheers, man. Thanks.
Sam, you mentioned before this press conference that the last time you were signed here was when you gained promotion from League One. A huge amount's happened since then. Where do you think the club is now compared to that moment?
Yes, obviously it's in a much better place. We've got a stronger squad. We're in a better league. And like I said, as a squad, we're growing and we get better and better every period of games. So we just got to keep trying to get the points on the board and climbing up the league. And we've got a good period of games coming up now where we feel like we can do that.
And the manager said at the weekend that performance should give everybody the belief that you really can compete at championship level. Do you feel that in the squad now as well?
Yeah, I think the confidence is growing. We've obviously chopped and changed in formations and players, and we're still trying to work out what options we have and what we can and can't do. So I think as the games come on, we're growing, and it's an exciting time to be part of the football club, and we've just got to keep taking each game as it comes.
And on the cup draw itself, to draw Cardiff, I think Nathan Broadhead said after the game when the draw was made that his old man is a big Cardiff fan. I'm sure there's a bit of a buzz in his family, but for all you players as well. Yeah,
like I said, you want to play in these games, and it's going to be a really good atmosphere, and hopefully the fans can push us on and we can get to the quarter-final. I think it's been the third time in the club's history, and we've not played Cardiff for 21 years, so everyone's excited, and hopefully we can go out there and get the win.
And in terms of this run as well, it's been manic. Your players are needed, and that probably shows where the strength of the squad is really going to be really important in this stage of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we showed throughout the season the strength of the squad, and players have come in, done really well, and in the cup players have done well. So yes, it's a credit to everyone here, and we've just got to be ready, work hard, and wait for your opportunity.
Thank you, Sam.
How frustrating has it been, Sam? You're a regular. We just signed last January. You've showed you when you go off the bench how you've adapted to the Championship.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Obviously, everyone wants to play, but all I can do is control what I can and work hard and keep trying to get better and take opportunities as they come and make sure that if I'm not playing, I'm a good teammate and I can help people get better overall, and just make sure that when I am called upon, I give everything I've got to the club and hopefully take the opportunities.
Yeah, like when you come on against Oxford last week, you get 3 shots straight away, keepers in an awesome form, and you've scored in the League Cup, so you're certainly doing that when you have been coming off start in the League Cup.
Just got to keep going and work hard, and yeah.
I remember you saying in an interview that you wanted to show you could play again in the Championship. Do you feel that has been the case?
Not yet. I think I've not played enough yet to show that, but I think the time will come, and like I said, as long as I keep working hard and pushing people and making sure that when I do get the opportunity, I'm ready. And that's all I can do, and keep trying to impact games coming off from the bench. So the 3 points is all that matters at the moment. So as long as we're climbing up the league and we're getting better and better, that's all we can do.
Yeah, just wondering, have you got much recollection of faced Cardiff much in the past when they've been obviously in the Championship for the last few years, weren't they? So we're playing the League One.
Can't actually remember.
No, you're not faced.
But I'm excited for it because everyone wants to play derbies, and this is quite a big one, so the atmosphere is going to be incredible. So, like I said, hopefully we can use the energy from our fans and put it into the performance.
Sam Smith, Wrexham centre forward, who makes his return to the starting 11 for Wrexham this evening. Nathan Broadhead paired with Smith in attack. And if you haven't caught up with the Wrexham team news, a return to the starting 11 for Ollie Rathbone, who will play in advanced midfield role alongside Lewis O'Brien. George Dobson playing the anchor role this evening. George Thomason looking like starting at left centre-back alongside Connor Cody and Max Cleworth. If you haven't yet got your match pass sorted for this evening, head to wrexhamafc.co.uk/live. You'll have the audio and video options there. Mia Roberts and Mark Howard will be joining Mark Griffiths on commentary. Mark Howard will be back with me at half-time for analysis of the opening 45 minutes. We hope to see you then too, back here, same link on YouTube, to see if Wrexham can give themselves a platform to progress into the last 8 of the Carabao Cup against old rivals Cardiff City. It promises to be a fiery Welsh derby. We look forward to giving you the half-time update in around about 50 minutes' time. See you then. Welcome back to the Stoke Kairas half-time in the Carabao Cup last 16, and it's Wrexham 0, Cardiff City 1. The Bluebirds haven't read the script. They have been much the better side in the opening 45 minutes, and Wrexham have Callum Burton to thank to ensure they are still in this last 16 battle. Brian Barry Murphy's side have dominated possession and have had much the better of the opening period. They lead thanks to Yusuf Salek's 13th minute goal. A good save from Burton to deny Amari Kellyman, but Salek was on hand, the Danish striker tucking the ball home from close range. Wrexham have also been thankful to the woodwork on 2 occasions. A free kick from Colwill coming back off the crossbar. An effort from Cian Ashford tipped onto the post by Burton. At the other end, the Reds have had some chances of their own. Sam Smith just before the interval cutting inside and dragging a left foot shot wide. Ryan Longman with a decent effort from the edge of the 18-yard box. And perhaps the best chance of all coming early to Nathan Broadhead, but on his wrong foot and from the left-hand side of the box, he rather scuffed his effort and didn't force the keeper into a save. Plenty for Phil Parkinson and Steve Parkin to discuss with the players at the interval half-time. Wrexham 0, Cardiff City 1. Mark Howard has been on co-commentary alongside Mia and Mark Griffiths. Mark, how have you seen it?
Yeah, just obviously Cardiff have made a great start to the game. I think we knew that they would play like this. They moved the ball quickly, they're full of energy, got a lot of speed in the team and created a lot of opportunities. Obviously, Wrexham are thankful for Callum for starting the game so well. He's made 3 really good saves. Very unfortunate, very frustrating as a goalkeeper. When you make a save like that off Kellerman, that their attacker, Salek's the first one to respond and your defenders are caught a little bit flat-footed. But that's probably one of them. They've just been caught a little bit cold. I think Wrexham are getting a little bit frustrated. I think they can feel the air of anticipation and frustration from the fans as well, and that's almost given Cardiff a bit of encouragement to go and press Wrexham higher up. And it's one of those, you don't want to get sucked into trying to play a possession-based game, and I think at half-time Phil will have a few choice words and you'll see a different Wrexham side start the second half.
The tone of the half was set very early, wasn't it? Because Cardiff got on the ball pretty much from the first whistle. Wrexham seemed to be chasing shadows a bit, tracking back. Rob Phillips did say as part of our build-up show when we talked a little bit to him about Cardiff's playing style that they tend to play a possession-based game, a high press. We've seen that throughout the half. Wrexham, though, are comfortable without the ball. We have seen this in previous seasons. Phil Parkinson doesn't necessarily want to dominate possession. We'll have a look at the stats from the first half in a minute, but there will surely be an aspect for him as he walks in at half-time thinking, yeah, we've had less of the ball, but we're also lucky to still be in this.
Yeah, 100%. But then there has been some opportunities where when Cardiff are pressing high, George Dobson's got on the ball and actually found a pass that split them and found the pockets for O'Brien, for Rathbone, and we've then created a little bit of momentum of Wrexham players running forward, passing forward. And I think that's been the big standout, is there's not been enough of that. And then when we have played direct, I think that the ball into Smith, we haven't been able to retain possession enough and bring other people into play. I think that's something that we'll try and improve on in the second half. They'll try and get Rathbone, O'Brien further up the pitch to support the strikers.
Let's take a little look then at the statistics from the first half, because it certainly felt, watching from the Mould Road stand, that Wrexham were under the cosh a little bit in terms of possession and territory. Well, if we look on the screen, perhaps not as much in terms of territorial dominance through possession as we might have expected. 55.6% from Cardiff, as you can see there, 44.4 for Wrexham. But look at that total shots difference, 15 for Cardiff against 5 from Wrexham. The slightly odd thing, I guess, Mark, is that Wrexham have had a couple of decent chances. Broadhead's was a decent chance, and Sam Smith at the end there creating a half chance for himself. But the sheer volume of shots that's rained down on Callum Burton's goal really tells the tale of that opening half.
And the crosses that Cardiff are putting in. I don't think we're getting close enough to block the crosses, let alone defending them. I think we've blocked a couple of good shots on the edge of the box from Dobson, from Thomason. Yeah, Cardiff are obviously mounting a really good attack and sustaining that pressure. You can see by the stats that when they're on top, they're really drumming it home to Wrexham.
Although Barry Murphy made 5 changes tonight, is this a symptom perhaps of a team that is doing so well in the league? The confidence is obviously surging through the squad.
I said this on comms, you can see that Wrexham have made changes. When you've made that amount of changes, you almost start the game as an individual. You're trying to play your own game, force your way into the game. And I think that's almost caught Wrexham cold, where Cardiff, I know it's 5 changes still, but there's a lot more fluidity in their performance, the way they're moving the ball. There seems to be better understanding of their tactics and the way that they're putting them across.
Let's take a little look at the defensive statistics then for the opening half, because it's been the Wrexham backline of Cleworth, Cody and Thomason who've had to work hard to try and repel a number of Cardiff attacks, in addition to Callum Burton, of course, who we've mentioned. 7 blocks there from Wrexham, 16 clearances. They are further stats that show that Cardiff have definitely been in the ascendancy. Where do you think, Mark, Phil will be focusing at half-time? Will it be on tactical tweaks or personnel changes, or maybe both?
I think a bit of both. I think there'll probably be a substitution at half-time. I think that tactically he'll try and go a bit more direct from the back three. I think they've had a bit more success. Instead of forcing those passes, I mean, that's where the goal comes from initially. Thomason just taking a little bit too much time in possession and getting caught. So I think that that'll be the words going around in the dressing room now. Let's give them nothing. It's a cup game. It's a rivalry. Obviously, the Welsh derby, I think that they'll be playing on those sort of things. They'll be saying, give them nothing. We're still in this. It's 1-0. We're all to play for in the second half. And as we've seen in the past, Wrexham like to finish games strong. So if they can keep it at 1-0 for the majority of the second half, I think they'll be quite happy knowing that they can bring on other players that can finish that game.
We're seeing a lot of play in and around the edge of the 18-yard box, Wrexham's 18-yard box. We're seeing Ruben Colwill dictate a lot, Ryan Wintle a little bit further back, but spraying the ball around, and Wrexham are having to work hard to close down space. How do you go about trying to get further out than that? What's the way of actually trying to press Cardiff so if there is going to be a threat, it isn't so adjacent to the edge of the box? Yeah,
this is difficult. You almost have to keep them one side. If you can keep them on one side of the pitch, it makes your job easier because you're not making those 30, 40-yard runs to get across. So I think that the way Wrexham need to defend this half is almost force them down one side, make Cardiff play down one side of the pitch only, force it and shut it off. And I think that way you can then gain the extra man in midfield, the extra man in defence, and really push Cardiff out of possession.
We've seen Ollie Rathbone in action back in the Wrexham shirt. Great to see the number 20 back out there in this first half. First time since he picked up that injury on the tour to Australasia. How do you think he's gone in the opening 45?
Yeah, I think he hasn't quite looked at the races first half. I think it's not the Ollie Rathbone that we're used to. I think that, but knowing Ollie the way I do, that he gets stronger in the second half and he gets fitter as the game goes on. He almost relies on his fitness to chase people down and force them to make mistakes. And hopefully he comes out second half raring to go.
A few options on the bench for Phil: Kiefer Moore, Josh Windass, Matty James, plenty of the players who've had a lot of game time this season, and players like James McLean who've had limited opportunities in recent weeks. Where do you think Phil might look first in terms of personnel adjustments?
I think he'll probably look to bring Kiefer on. I think he'll probably try and get other people involved in the game. When you play a little bit more direct through Kiefer or through Ryan Hardy as another option, you then bring the midfielders into play. You get higher up the pitch and then you can mount a foothold almost in the opposition half. I think that defensively they've stuck at their task quite well. I know we've conceded a lot of chances and Callum's made a few saves, but defensively they've put their body on the line, they've won their headers, they've cleared the ball. So there are some positives in there. It's just about trying to get that Wrexham performance out of them.
Will there be a thought there that says, Mark, that as the game reaches perhaps its final quarter, Cardiff might run out of steam a bit playing in this sort of high press, high intensity style? Or will there be a thought that says, well, at that point, Barry Murphy will just empty the bench and they'll stay playing in the same way? Well,
they've got the options on the bench to do that, but I think that that's something that Wrexham will rely on, is Cardiff will run out of steam. They're playing so intensely at that high press. They're also moving the ball from back to front quite quickly. It takes a lot of energy out of you. So I think that Wrexham will be patient in their press in the second half. They won't want to exert any extra energy than they need to. I think it's a patient game the second half. I think that Wrexham will really be patient in the way they play a bit more direct, try and get players in and around the strikers and just get up the pitch.
Mark, thank you very much for now. I'll let you head back and get back on commentary with Mia and Mark Griffiths for the second half. Great to have Mark Howard with us on Match Day Live again this evening. He'll be back with us on Friday when Coventry City, table topping and unbeaten under Frank Lampard, are the next visitors in the Sky Bet Championship. We'll of course be back on air with Match Day Live at 7:15 UK time on Friday, so we look forward to seeing you then. Well, Wrexham have got a mountain mountain to climb in this second half, but it's not an insurmountable one. Just one goal separating these two teams. Cardiff with a really strong first half performance, giving their supporters plenty to cheer about. But Wrexham fans have been here before, and as Mark was saying, often Wrexham find their best feet in the second period of the game. Will they have enough to get themselves back into this tie, perhaps to go on and win it, or maybe to force a penalty shootout? We will know in about 50 minutes time, unless of course we go to penalties, which might mean it's a little longer before we're back with Match Day Live. But we look forward to you joining us again at full time, and we'll know then whether Wrexham have made it through to the last 8 of the League Cup for the first time since January 1978. Half time then here at the Stoke Kairas. It's Wrexham 0, Cardiff City 1.
Giving a field number 20, Owen Rathbone. He's being replaced by number 37, Matthew James. He's being replaced by number 19, Ethan Moore. And for Cardiff, giving a field number 8 from Harry Callum. He was replaced by 39, Isaac Davis.
Paul, I think we're alright on these seats.
Very good.
Substitution for Cardiff, leaving the field, number 6, Ryan Wintle. He was replaced by number 18, Alex Robinson. Leaving the field, number 27, Joel Colwell. He's been replaced by number 14, David Turnbull. to your cost. Substitution for Wrexham leaving the field, number 29, Ryan Barnett. He's being replaced by number 12, Sycamore. And leaving the field, number 6, Connor Cody. He's being replaced by number 9, Ryan Harvey. Substitution for Cardiff, leaving the field, number 3, Joel Bagan. He's being replaced by number 38, Perry Yang. Substitution for Cardiff. Leaving the field, number 45, Cian Ashford. He's replaced by number 4, Gabriel Osho. Sydd ond wedi dynodi gyda lle am symud 5 munud, os yna fel y pwynt which is indicated there will be a minimum of 5 minutes, added time 5 minutes.
Full time at the Stoke Kairas, and Wrexham's run in the Carabao Cup comes to an end in the last 16 round because they've been beaten by Cardiff City by 2-1. A far improved second half performance from Phil Parkinson's side. Looked like it might give them a decent chance of taking this game at least to penalties, if not turning it round completely. Kiefer Moore coming off the bench to equalise early in the second half. But Will Fish's neat volley, unmarked at the far post from a free kick beyond Callum Burton in the 71st minute, proved the difference between these two sides. And despite Parkinson emptying the bench and throwing everything he could at Brian Barry Murphy's team, Cardiff were well organised, disciplined, and worked hard for the full 95 minutes. Wrexham couldn't find a second, and it is the Bluebirds who take Welsh interest into the quarter-finals. The first half performance, in the end, the difference between these two sides. Wrexham beaten by Cardiff City by 2-1. Mia Roberts has been on commentary with Mark Griffiths and Mark Howard, who will hopefully join us very soon. Mia, what are your reflections on that 90 minutes?
I think just overriding disappointment, to be honest. I think it feels like a big opportunity missed. Yes, I know, we say it every year, focuses on the league, absolutely. But when you're a winnable game, let's be frank and honest, I think that tonight is against a Cardiff team which I know are League One, but are still have that championship quality, but I still believe it is winnable. I think it is an opportunity missed to progress into a quarter-finals, which would have been another great opportunity, whether it's played here or away, against probably a Premier League side, you would imagine. I'm not sure how the Wycombe score ended up. I know Brentford were beaten.
Brentford won easily. Wycombe was a penalty shootout the last time I checked.
Oh, wow. So there you go. I think it's probably guaranteed to be a Premiership side, really. You never know what happens, obviously, in the Cup, like we see tonight. But, it feels like an opportunity missed. I think not only in terms of that, but also for the fans, the occasion of getting to a quarter-final and everything that comes with it. I think there'll be a lot of disappointment right now in that changing room. I think, particularly from some of the ones who started the game in that first half, I thought Wrexham were really poor in certain moments, just didn't seem to get a hold of the game. I think something that's always upsetting, to say is you just felt like Cardiff wanted it more. I know it's very cliche, but I thought they just had more fight in them. We talk about it being that Welsh derby, that rivalry. I didn't see too much of that from Wrexham tonight. I thought maybe George Dobson was probably the one who gave it his most, in the sense of in the middle of the park, the battling that he did, and Matty James when he came on. But on the most part, I just didn't think we were quite at it. We had a good phase in the second half, which we did do well in, which obviously led to getting the equaliser. But then from then, Cardiff grew back into it again. And listen, I think you've got to give a hell of a lot of credit to that Cardiff team, because I thought they were brilliant tonight.
After that flat first half performance where Cardiff were clearly the better side, Mia, the three changes at half-time, Matty James for Ollie Rathbone, and then Moore and Windass came on up front for Smith and Broadhead. We did see quite a different shift in the dynamic of the match, didn't we? Certainly for the first half of the second half. Wrexham getting on the ball quickly, scoring through Kiefer Moore, but having other half chances as well. It looked at that point like Wrexham might go on and potentially win the game, having got level, but then Will Fish's intervention came after Cardiff had started to find their way back, and in the end, no real clear-cut chances, a couple of half chances perhaps towards the end, but nothing that really stood out to say there's been a real test for Nathan Trott in the latter stages. Yeah,
like you say, only really half chances, but I just thought generally our sort of play in terms of build-up wasn't at the speed that it was in that sort of 20 minutes or so when we were really quick. And listen, it can't always be like that for 45 minutes. You can't necessarily sustain that. But I just thought, again, it dropped a little bit. Maybe, the Cardiff players started up in their game like they did in that first half, and their fans maybe got behind them a little bit more, and that just it just led to us not really feeling like anything was coming. I know, like you say, we've obviously had a couple of half chances here and there, Kiefer Moore really at the heart of that, but even then going into the sort of 75th minute, you couldn't really see where anything was going to come from, and I think that's a real worry for Phil Parkinson and his staff, because at home, under the lights, again in a big game like this, you want your team to be on top of things, and I just thought at times tonight we just weren't able to sustain that pressure.
Let's take a look at the statistics then from tonight's game and have a look at ultimately what lay behind this defeat for Wrexham against Cardiff City in the Carabao Cup and their exit at the last 16 stage. Well, over the 90, possession was virtually level pegging. Cardiff City, though, 23 shots. That is really quite some statistic for an away side to rifle off 23 opportunities in the game, and almost half of those on target. Callum Burton having to work hard, particularly in the first half, but also making a couple of key saves in the second. Those 21 crosses, Mia, that came in from Cardiff City, that just showed the threat they had all night. And look at the corner count, 10-3.
Yeah, they put Wrexham under some real pressure, and I think it comes back to something we were saying a lot at the start of the season. If you're going to give away that many shots and opportunities to a team of this quality that have this standard of player in its side, you're always sort of asking for problems. And I thought, from minute one tonight, Wrexham maybe were too standoffish in those moments. I thought, particularly when you look down the middle of the park, I thought Selleck was brilliant for Cardiff, but I thought at times maybe Conor Cody just hasn't got tighter. I thought one of the occasions he did actually then led up to the goal itself when he's won it back in that middle of the park, and then Wrexham have gone on and played some really good stuff.
Mark Howard has popped across and joined us. Thank you, Mark, for skating around the stadium. Still, you've got your pro footballer fitness still, clearly, to have got here so quickly. We were just talking through with Mia where the game was won and lost. Mia certainly feeling like you did that Wrexham in the first half just weren't really at the races. What was your take on how the second played out?
Yeah, obviously the changes at second half definitely paid dividends for Wrexham. I think that they played a little bit more direct through Kiefer. They were a lot more aggressive. Matty James controlled the middle of the pitch well, and it just looked like first half there wasn't enough players with match sharpness. And I think even some of the substitutions tonight, Ryan Hardy's come on and he's not quite got to the ball, the through ball, where you think, if he was fully fit, would he have got onto that a little bit quicker and been a bit more direct with it? It just looked like a lot of players almost out of fitness, as in not playing 90 minutes regular. I think George Dobson was a great performer tonight, did really well in the game, and then the regular starters from the league that have come on really did make an impact, and it might just be that little bit of match sharpness that was missing first half.
Mia and I were just discussing, Mark, that the second half, the first part of the second half, was Wrexham's best spell in the game. But the final quarter, Cardiff were at least 50-50 again, and they kind of seemed to temper Wrexham's positivity from that first sort of 20 minutes or so of the second half. Why do you think that was?
I think Wrexham just came out of the blocks really well in the second half. I think obviously the team talk worked. They played with a lot more quality, a little bit more direct, sharper passes. I said to Mia in comms that it was a lot more two-touch. It was a controlled pass from Wrexham, and it really sucked the Cardiff team out of their positions, and then that's where Wrexham managed to find some good gaps. But I think that as the game wore on, I think that Wrexham tired of doing that and weren't getting as much joy as they probably hoped. And I think we lacked a real quality tonight in the wingers' positions. I think we didn't get as many crosses in as we could, and we didn't try and beat our man. I think that's not something that we're used to. We're used to seeing Ryan Barnett flying down the wing, Ryan Longman flying down the wing, getting crosses in and really making teams make mistakes. And I just don't think we saw enough of that tonight.
Let's take a look at the defensive stats this evening, just to see those. And Cardiff City, well, they worked hard defensively from the front to the back. They were pressing throughout the 90 minutes, and every single player who pulled on the blue shirt tonight really put a shift in for Brian Barry Murphy. As we can see there, Wrexham having to make more clearances at the back. That slightly makeshift defence tonight with George Thomason deployed at left centre-back. Conor Cody coming in, having not featured for 6 weeks. 21 headed clearances there, Mia, required over the 90 minutes. And even though, as we were saying, Wrexham improved in the second half, if we look at those stats over the 90, it was still the Wrexham defence that was having to work the harder by quite some distance.
Yeah, and it felt like that, and I think that affects everything, doesn't it, on the pitch when you feel like you're under the cosh. We spoke about it in the first half on comms about how Wrexham, when they were then getting that ball back, it was almost panic stations. We need to keep it, but there's no one actually in front of us. We've got 11 men almost behind the ball, and it felt like there was no sort of release. And I think that sort of crept its way back into, sadly, towards the end of that second half, and it just meant Wrexham couldn't really build anything. And like I said earlier, it just couldn't put Cardiff under that sustained pressure, which, at the Stoke Kairas, under the lights, like I said prior, that's what you want to do in those final moments. That's where we've hurt so many teams late on in games over the last few years.
Do you think, Mark, tonight there was an element of kind of betwixt and between? It was kind of an important game, and it was a derby game, and it was a prospect of getting in a quarter-final, but it wasn't a league game, and Coventry are coming on Friday, and the league is the most important thing. Is some element perhaps of sort of mental confusion to a point about how much players are wanting to go hard and really find a really big performance tonight off the back of Middlesbrough and with Coventry looming?
Yeah, I think you can say that, especially with 7 changes tonight. That normally spells that the manager's rested 7 players for Friday night's game. So normally it's takes a standout performer to break that mould and get into that team. It's not often the case that you do find that performing well on a cup on a Tuesday night gets you in the starting lineup anyway. So it would have taken something huge tonight. But yeah, I think there probably is a huge eye on that game, and I think it's a frustrating one tonight because a lot of people had a good opportunity to stake a claim. I just don't think that we lacked quality tonight, and it's not like a Wrexham team. And even in the final few minutes when you're expecting us to create that opportunity, or it just looked like we weren't quite at it tonight, and that was slightly disappointing, but full credit to Cardiff. The way that they play is entertaining, it's energetic, they've got a lot of pace, fluidity. I think that they're very impressive in what they do, and I think that they'll go on to have a really good season.
When you look at the players who've come in and not quite hit their straps this evening, is that just purely a symptom of a lack of intense match practice? You know, they've come up against a team tonight, Mark, who are top of the league, only a few places behind Wrexham, really, if you look across the two tables, full of confidence and with a very clear game plan to press high, work hard and play with a real intensity. If you've not played for a number of weeks and you've had limited minutes, is that a particularly difficult type of match context to come into?
100%, yeah. Obviously, you're playing against a team that is really well gelled. I think they all stuck to their tasks really well, and I think that's why the last 10-15 minutes of the game it was difficult, because although that both teams had made a lot of changes, Cardiff stuck to their game plan of playing football, drawing Wrexham out, being patient in their attacks, and then with two players up front in Salak and Colwill, I thought they were brilliant. They linked really well, their movement was clever, they had a lot of guile, they were cute with it as well, they won free kicks when they needed to, and they just really brought the whole Cardiff team up the pitch.
On that point, Mia, some Wrexham fans may well say, OK, so Cardiff are top of the league and they've got a playing style that they understand, but ultimately they brought in 5 new players tonight who hadn't played on Saturday. Wrexham changed 7, but Cardiff have still brought 5 players in who weren't selected to start a league match at Bolton on Saturday. Why are they more ready and better able to adjust to this sort of game than seemingly some of the Wrexham fringe players?
Yeah, I think it's obviously difficult to say. I think just on the night, if we're going to judge it by just the performance we've seen for the last 90 minutes or so, you just have to say they did look sharper. And I come back to it, I thought there was a bit more fight in those Cardiff players, which, again, I don't think is something you could say about this Wrexham side for quite a long time. And that's the disappointment that I certainly feel, and I'm sure a lot of the fans in the stadium will feel, especially given the circumstance of it being that sort of Welsh derby. But listen, I think the other thing you have to add to it, these Cardiff players will have a lot of confidence from the opening start to the season that they've had. They've been flying, really, haven't they? I mean, I know they lost on Saturday, but I think that was the first away loss they've had all season. And I'm sure they were coming here tonight trying to respond to not only that, but also a lot of probably critics who had kind of written them off tonight's game. And sometimes it's easier to sort of come here as the underdog.
Off the back of that loss as well, I think that's a huge thing, that the 5 players that have come in have tried to stake a claim for their next match. So sometimes when you're off the back of a poor result away at Bolton, I mean, they haven't had many bad results this season. You then think, well, this might be my opportunity. I've got to take it tonight. And I think a few of them have with both hands.
But one of the elements of that, Mark, would be, well, that same goes for Wrexham, doesn't it, as well? There are players tonight who've had an opportunity to come in who haven't been able to take that opportunity. Now, is that a pressure thing, perhaps? Or is that the occasion? Or is it that the Cardiff players have just perhaps had more minutes and been interchanged a bit more often?
It could be all of the above. It also, Wrexham play a night earlier. So there's less recovery. And then also the results of late for Wrexham. I mean, the home win against Oxford, great result. Getting a point away against Middlesbrough, great result.
And a great performance. Yeah.
So exactly that. So there's probably less impetus for the players that have come in for Wrexham tonight to get in the starting lineup because they are performing well and starting to put results together. On Cardiff, on the other hand, have gone away to Bolton, lost their first away game of the season. So there is more of a chance of getting that next start.
If you're just joining us on Matchday Live, a warm welcome to the Stoke Kairas. The 1864 suite this evening is home to Matchday Live's studio. If you are just joining us, this game is finished. Wrexham 1, Cardiff City 2. Will Fish with the decisive intervention in the second half after an equaliser from Kiefer Moore brought matters level just after the interval. But it's Cardiff who will progress into the last 8. They'll join Brentford there. 5 more ties to be played tomorrow night. We will bring you the update from Wycombe against Fulham Fulham. That was a penalty shootout that was still in progress as we came on air post-match on Matchday Live. So we'll try and bring you that result before we close the show. We also hope to get some reaction from the Wrexham camp with manager Phil Parkinson and hopefully one of the playing squad. So please stay tuned, and don't forget it's Friday night football at the Stoke Kairas as well this week, with Wrexham facing up to Frank Lampard's Coventry. 8 o'clock kickoff. We'll be on air with Matchday Live from 7:15 to see if Wrexham can back up that excellent point at Middlesbrough against the unbeaten Sky Blues. Well, it was some other Blues tonight who were the thorn in the side for Wrexham. Mia, what do you think Phil Parkinson's reflections will be? We hope to hear from him, of course, shortly, but what do you think his emotions will be as he walks off tonight?
Yeah, I think he'll be really frustrated. I think you always will be, losing at home, going out of the cup, obviously. But, you know, I think if you're going to try and take some positives out of it, maybe it's the impact that, you know, Kiefer Moore, Josh Windass made. Matty James, again, I thought looked really strong in that middle of the park. I think he's just, over the last few weeks, just solidifying that role, really, especially with Ben Sheaf. We're not too sure how he's getting on fitness-wise. So that's a positive. I think, you know, it's tough. I thought Cal Burton did a really good job as well tonight. I thought he was really solid. I think without him, maybe, you know, you're looking at maybe more than 2 goals conceded. I'm not sure there's much he can do on either of the goal. But yeah, I think it's one of them that he'll want to look at and, you know, try and dive into in a bit more depth, obviously. But it's one of them as at the same time you've got to move on. Friday's going to come around really quickly, and if you're not, you know, if you're still thinking about tonight and the difficulties of tonight, then Coventry aren't no mugs. They're going to take full advantage of that.
And Mia, just on that second goal, when Will Fish arrived to volley home, it was neatly taken, but too much space surely for him.
Yeah, it's one of them. I think they play it short. It's a bit of a quick one and maybe catches Wrexham a bit on their heels. You know, saw straight away before the ball came in how much space he had out on that back post. I think Kiefer Moore, they're obviously expecting the ball to come in direct. And yeah, it's a frustrating one. I think Kiefer Moore should probably do better on it. You know, maybe win that initial header. But then, you know, it falls to Will Fish, the centre-back, and it's a fantastic strike. And again, nothing I don't think Callum Burton can do in goal.
Overall thoughts, Mark, tonight on how Callum Burton went? Because we said pre-match, difficult for him, coming in from the cold. We've not seen him in a Wrexham shirt since the previous round some weeks ago against Reading. You said he'd be looking for a quiet night tonight. He didn't probably have that.
No, but he also, obviously, he's made a few great saves tonight, but it's the neat things that he's done really well. He's had a couple of awkward ones bouncing in front of him, a couple of crosses that he's had to come and punch. His kicking was really good tonight. So, yeah, loads of positives for Callum. Really impressed with the way that he's went about his business tonight. And, yeah, like I said, he's made some great saves. It's a frustrating one, the first goal. He's made an incredible save. One that's worthy of, obviously, staying out and winning you any game. But, yeah, it's just unfortunate that they're following in and as sharp as they are.
Over the season, though, Mark, and you've played this role here as well as being first choice, having that backup keeper that has such a level of quality will give confidence not just to the playing staff and the management but also the fans that if Arthur Okonkwo does suffer any injury or Phil Neasy takes him out for a match or two, even with Danny Ward sidelined at least for now, there is a goalkeeper who can come in and there won't be a huge drop-off in the standard of who's in goal.
I think it's shown over the years that you always do need that third choice. I mean, we've had a lot of chopping and changing over the past few years, and obviously my role slightly changed and now Callum stepped into that role. Callum will be frustrated that he's not playing week in, week out, and I was for years on end. But yeah, it's one of those that you do need that reliable, old trusty third choice goalkeeper to come in and do a job. And I think Callum's just added to the plaudits that he already has.
Bit of breaking news from the match down at Adams Park this evening. Fulham have beaten Wycombe Wanderers on penalties. So a tough night for the Chair Boys. So near but so far for a League One side to try and knock out one of the Premiership big guns. But it's Fulham who have prevailed together with their local rivals Brentford. They also go into the last 8 this evening. As well, of course, as we know, Cardiff City. The other 5 ties tomorrow night. And sadly, the draw, which will follow the 8 o'clock kickoff, will not involve Wrexham tomorrow evening. I guess, Mia, one of the elements from a playing perspective is to try and keep some sense of perspective. Whilst there'll be disappointment, clearly, that a potential trip to Wembley and some glory, or at least a Premier League team, almost inevitably in the quarterfinals is not going to happen. It has still been a run that has given the team 3 wins, a bit of playing time for some of the fringe players. So some positives from the run, despite clearly tonight the fact that I'm sure not many people are thinking like that in the dressing room.
Oh, 100%. No one will be looking back at Hull going, oh, but it was a great night, though, wasn't it, sort of thing, even though, it was. I know it was first round, but, I think the cup competitions are really important for things like that. I think, tonight is obviously a difficult one to take, and that's why there is so much disappointment, because I think people could see that there was real sort of reality in getting, in progressing and, maybe doing the sort of unthinkable, if you like, and, that's really frustrating again, but now all eyes do turn onto the league until we enter the FA Cup in January, or is it later now this season?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so disappointing outcome on this run, Mark. Will that motivate the players ever more when the third round of the FA Cup comes round in January, that this is going to be a competition that Wrexham have a serious run? And it's so unusual to be contemplating coming in the third round. In all my years of following Wrexham, we always used to think, can we get to the third round? It will be so exciting to see who we might draw. But now Wrexham appear for the first time with all the big guns.
Yeah, that feels so far away. There's so many league games between now and then. It'll be back to business as usual. I'm sure that Phil will come in and tell you that it'll be the first one to say that he wants to concentrate on the league now and let's push up that table and concentrate on that form in the league. FA Cups are lovely when they come around, but it's the old cliche when you're a footballer, it's one game at a time and you'll worry about that when it comes.
Playing Friday night, what will the schedule look like for the players now, Mark, tomorrow and Thursday, and Friday itself?
Yeah, it'll be recovery is the most important thing. I'm pretty sure that the starters tonight will come in tomorrow, do a recovery. Everybody else will be in to train as usual. Phil's always likes a 2-day build-up into games, and I'm sure this will be no different. So it will be, starting 11 off feet, in the pool, recovering, stretching, doing their gym work, and the rest of the squad will be out on the training pitch training hard.
Do you think there'll be much video analysis with the players of this match, or will they focus more on looking back at Middlesbrough as a more like-for-like championship preparation for Friday night?
Yeah, 100%. It will be concentrating on the league. It will be looking at Middlesbrough, looking at that result, looking how they could improve on that, and then also start looking at Coventry. Obviously, the way that Coventry are playing this year and the goals that they're scoring at free will almost, I think that there'll be a big focus and impetus put on Coventry.
Looking ahead to that game, Mia, Coventry clearly have been imperious this season, scoring goals for fun. Frank Lampard went in last season, had a good season with Coventry. They've clearly come very close in the past. Penalty shootout only denying them promotion a couple of years ago when Luton went up. They do look the team to beat. It's still very early, of course, but at the moment they're the only side across the top 5 divisions who are yet to be beaten.
Yeah, but, I think to that I'd sort of say, well, we were saying a lot of similar things about Middlesbrough, and look how well we did there on Saturday. So, I'm reluctant to give you a one to watch, sort of, because I said Hayden Hackney for Middlesbrough, and he went and put one in the back of the net. So, I'm a bit reluctant to give you one, but
keep
I know
quiet.
I'm not going to say anyone.
People are expecting it now, Mia. It's 1 out of 1 for you, so keep it going.
But no,
Maybe.
Obviously they're a top side. I think three of their forwards are currently the top 3 scorers in the league, and that sort of speaks for itself. But Frank Lampard is also a top manager, and he's been in this situation before in the Championship, and obviously got very close, not only with obviously Coventry, but with Derby as well. And he's got a lot of experience in that area, and he's got a number of players who absolutely love playing for him at that club. So I think Friday's going to be a real tough battle here at the Stoke Ross. Yeah.
The Oxford game, Mark, clearly was a great home win for Wrexham to land, the first home win in the league this season. But across the campaign that we've seen so far, a lot of Wrexham's best performances have been away. Norwich, Millwall, Southampton, all bar the last couple of minutes. Middlesbrough, as Mia was saying on Saturday. And tonight, clearly there was some boos at full time, mixture perhaps of frustration, disappointment, maybe a bit of anger. But ultimately, I guess the fans are really looking to try and see a bit of a run now at home, aren't they? To see a performance backed up, at least from the previous League One. Do you think that Friday gives them an opportunity against Coventry?
Yeah, definitely. I think, as said before, the fans here are used to seeing Wrexham win. Over the last 3 or 4 years, there's not been many losses here. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you can tell is we're used to winning here. There's almost an expectancy that we do win at home. And I think that's the biggest thing, is trying to get over that. It's a different step up in class now in the Championship. There's a lot more challenges and a lot more quality. So obviously, Phil talked about on Tuesday night putting in a proper Wrexham performance, and I think that that's what Wrexham need to get back to, is just at home putting in a disciplined, defensive, tight performance where they give not a lot away and hope to score a goal, whether it's late on or early on in the game, and hold on to it. I think we're used to that. We're used to seeing a much more disciplined defence, a tighter midfield. I think since Matty James has come in, and Mia mentions that it's been more disciplined in there. There's been more second balls regained, and the turnover and the way that he snuffs out danger has been brilliant. So I think that we'll hopefully see a display like that.
Mark, Mia, thank you very much for now. I know we've got the chance now to go live and hear from Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson.
Phil, commiserations defeat tonight in the League Cup against Cardiff City. What's your assessment on that one?
We were nowhere near standards we've set over last few weeks, to be fair, and over a long period here. We were off the pace first half. We made it too easy for them to play. Our pressing wasn't aggressive enough, and they pressed us and made it difficult for us on the ball and forced us into mistakes. And when we had patches of that in the second period, we showed what we could do, and we got back in the game, and you fancied us in that period to go and win it. But the second goal was obviously a killer for us. But yeah, in football, if you're not quite at the races as a collective, you can get punished, and we did tonight.
At half-time, you made the triple change. 7 minutes later, we then got the goal back. Did you almost feel at that moment the game was there to be won? Yeah, definitely. I felt we were the team in the ascendancy, and you've got to make the most of those moments. You've got to kind of seize that situation. And I just felt that even before the goal and even after, we had moments where we crossed from too deep, or we didn't quite make the right pass selection in and around the top third of the pitch. And we got punished for that tonight. But we've got to look closely at ourselves, that it's a lesson for us that if you're not quite at it, or not quite a long way off it like we're in the first half, how easy you can make it for the opposition to play. We've got to be more aggressive in our pressing, which we have been of late. We've created a physicality to the team, at Middlesbrough at the weekend, at Oxford here, and yeah, on Friday night we've got to make sure we get back to a Wrexham performance where there's heart and commitment, and there's kind of a strong structure in our play. It's not just about chasing all over the pitch, making tackles. It's about doing it from a structure. But when you go, we've got to go more physically than we did tonight. As you mentioned there, that lesson, a chance to quickly rectify that on Friday against Coventry City here at the Stoke Kairos.
Yeah, listen, the game's come thick and fast, and we've made changes tonight. Obviously they didn't really, because they've got an FA Cup game. We've got a very important league game on Friday. But I had to utilise the squad. I just have to. I've got to protect the players who've gone, the Wednesday game and the Saturday game, and I needed to protect them because we've already lost Brunty through an injury. He's had an operation today. Obviously, Callum was out suspended, and I had to make sure that I picked the team, which was I felt the right one to go and get the result. Obviously, when you lose, it's clearly not, and I've got to have a look at that. But it was done in the best interest of the schedule we've got coming forward.
There were 45 minutes for Rolly Rathbone, a pleasing step for him in his journey from recovery.
Yeah, I have to say, the lads who were brought off at half-time, it could have been anyone really, if we're honest. And yeah, it was always, Ollie was always going to come off 60, but he's got his 45 minutes in his legs, which is great for him.
Thank you, Phil.
Phil Parkinson giving his honest assessment of the defeat this evening to Cardiff City in conversation with our media man, Matt Waters. Interesting comments there, Mia, from Phil. Anyone could potentially have come off at half-time. Stood out for me, but also the point that we've discussed about being off the pace and not pressing aggressively enough.
Yeah, well, he's honest, and I think he's pretty much said what we've sort of covered in terms of, if you're not going to be good enough, you're going to get punished. And again, I sort of reiterate it about Cardiff being a very good level. I think maybe a few too many people inside the stadium tonight, or just generally maybe put us ahead of them already in this game, and I don't think that was ever the case. I think that's the headline though, isn't it, at half time? It could have been sort of any of them, and I think that's a huge sort of statement about how really no one was at the level in that first half. And if you're going to let things sort of slip and you just give yourself too much to do, I know it was only 1-0, but it sort of felt like it was more than that because of just how poorly we weren't able to get at Cardiff at all. And listen, in the second half, I don't think we gave Cardiff necessarily too many chances, but again, we just didn't look like we were going to be able to create much ourselves.
Mark, the point about pressing, Phil citing there how well the team had pressed at Middlesbrough on Saturday and the recent standards they'd set, but tonight just not being aggressive enough. How will he diagnose why that was?
I think it's just because they did it in individuals. I think when one player went to press, it wasn't a full team press. And I think that that's what then leaves you exposed. And also the fans could see that, and it lacked urgency when they did do it. So when you're pressing in ones and twos, you get tired from doing that. If you're not doing it as a full team, if your defence isn't high enough, and in telling your midfield to go and press and engage, it just becomes a bit distorted. I think that the distances between defence to midfield and midfield to strikers just becomes too large, and with that then creates space for Cardiff to play through you.
Is that a cohesion thing from players who are not playing with each other week in, week out, and therefore those distances get bigger than they should be?
Yeah, definitely, and I think that does come from playing together more and playing within that structure, as he did mention. That maybe enough hasn't been done on the training field to make sure that when one goes, that the next one's following, or if the full-back goes out, the centre-half comes across and the deep line midfield also has to come across. I think that there was too many gaps created tonight, and he also mentions about not getting high enough up the pitch and getting the wingers to put the crosses in the box. So there wasn't enough. I didn't see anyone trying to beat a man tonight, isolating their full-backs, especially as we know that the right-back was on a booking, and I just thought that Ryan Longman could have got at him a lot more.
Just on that point about Capacchio's booking, it was 56 minutes, I think it was. It looked like Longman was away. Very cynical foul on the halfway line. Did you think there was a possibility of a red card there, or was it too far from goal and a little bit too much cover? Because it was clear what he had in mind.
I don't think the cover was actually there. And if you re-watch it, O'Brien's actually running through the middle of the pitch on his own. He has 3 Cardiff players tracking him. So if Ryan Longman could have got a pass away or gotten that first touch in front of the defender, I think that it's a different decision for the referee. But I think it's also smart play from the defender. I think he brings him down just on the halfway line at the right time. I think if it goes any further, he has to send him off. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Maybe a little bit of naivety from Longy to not make more out of it. It's good refereeing, pulling it up as soon as he did, because if he does let it go, then there's a different decision to make. And yeah, Cardiff were trying to get back. I just don't think that they had that cover that the referee actually thought they did.
No, I think it's really experienced, isn't it, as well? I know he's only 18, but he doesn't make too much contact, which I think is what sort of rescues him. You know, if he goes for his ankles or really tugs the shirt, I don't think there was even much of that. He just sort of gets across him and gives him that little nudge. And I agree with Mark. I think Longman there sort of has to make more of it, even if he just knocks the ball ahead a bit and, you know, just sort of takes the ball out of the scenario, and then it's just, you know, it gives the ref more of a decision to make. But, you know, just coming back to that sort of Cardiff or Wrexham press, on how Cardiff were playing, I just thought at times from how Cardiff started, I just didn't think there was that confidence in that Wrexham press, in the sense that they thought, oh, they've started well here, they're playing with things on 1-2, I feel like we're already beat. And I think that mentality sort of spread a bit too quickly, particularly in that first half, and it was almost the feeling of, oh no, we don't really stand a chance if we all go.
That happens as well when Cardiff have got so much momentum and they're moving the ball so fast across the pitch that if you do feel like it's you that's got to go and press and you're going on your own or in ones and twos, you feel like you're then going to create the space in behind you. So it's almost a solidarity that you stay in your shape, you be difficult to beat, but as soon as they do get the ball into the attacking areas, you've got to then get drawn out, you've got to go and block crosses, and I just don't feel like Wrexham did that enough. They didn't defend the box well enough, and that you've seen quite a lot of flying in blocks and Callum making a few saves. It was a game where they were under pressure in their own 18-yard box, and I think they could have prevented that in the final third entries from Cardiff.
Mia, Mark, thank you so much this evening. Fantastic to have you with us both on Match Day Live. We look forward to seeing you again on Friday for co-commentary and these roles again for the Coventry match. So thank you very, very much indeed. We'll see you then as we return to Championship action and Frank Lampard's unbeaten Coventry come to town. So tonight was Wrexham's opportunity to reach the last 8 of the League Cup for the first time in 47 years. Hopes were high in this Welsh derby that Parkinson's team could forge a way through and land a plum Premier League tie in the quarter-finals. But in the end, Cardiff had a game plan and they executed it. Goals from Salak and Fish certainly left Wrexham feeling blue. From all of us here at the Stoke Kairas, diolch am wylio. We'll see you on Friday. Bye for now.